14 podcast, and we are back, baby. We are back. It feels like I haven't talked to the people. We haven't talked to the people in forever, Ave. Like literally, it feels like we haven't talked forever. I know we did the podcast of the players, but we haven't really talked directly to the Gate 14 listeners. How was this break for you? It wasn't really a break essentially, but how was the break for you?
Yeah, it didn't feel like a break at all. And
Yeah.
like as the days went on, I was like, we should just put something together pretty much. So, this I've had this take for a little bit. The off season rocks
Oh,
content
it does.
wise. It is a lot of fun. And I do miss when we kind of go a couple weeks in a row where we just interview people and we don't get to talk like this because I think the people in the off season like this kind of chat as well.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy the chats like this, and I really enjoy seeing the New York baseball Yankees humiliated in front of the most watched World
Oh.
Series ever. It feels like, God damn. I oh I was so happy. It's like I couldn't sleep when they lost. It was the
Dude,
most fun I'd had in so
I'm gonna
long.
need a Gate 14 listener to make a graphic of the wild card banner, but over it says Blue Jays World Series, Yankees losing World Series. Like that's what the banner should say. It should just actually say the banner, like the wild card banner, but over it, Yankees lost the World Series. That's a banner the Blue Jays should hang up. But let me tell you something about that World Series. We could not have scripted, have made up a better outcome for a baseball team that we despise to lose a World Series game. It was chef's kiss. The judge error, Volpe, one hopping a throw to third that Jazz doesn't catch, Garrett Cole pointing and not covering the bag. I, in my mind, could not have made up a better scenario with how the New York Yankees lost the World Series. I couldn't have. I couldn't have.
No, and the quotes coming out from the Dodgers about the World Series have been even funnier.
So
The,
mean.
their
So
analytics, their
mean.
analytics department was they said, they're the worst positioned outfield in baseball. They run like shit, which everyone knew. They take the smallest leads. Gavin Lux doesn't he's bad at turning two kind of from the hole, and they thought they'd put pressure on him. They're like, no, every time they did that, they said Jazz just stands there half the time when the ball's in play. Sometimes you're not in the play, obviously, but that's not a guy who played third base. And the Yankees imploded. And now I listened to Talking Yanks for
Oh,
the
that
first time
dude.
ever, and they were talking like the team has never worked on a fundamental in their life.
I want to hold the Gate 14 listeners. I want them to hold us accountable. If we ever talk like that, shoot us. Like they were talking like the Yankees just show up to spring training and they just hit BP and just go home. They were talking like they've never taken ground balls. They were talking like they've never done base running. Newsflash, sometimes you fuck up. All right. Sometimes you fuck up. Maybe they fuck up a little bit more than other teams around the league. But the way they were talking about the Yankees, it was like they just grabbed a couple bums off the street and played. You motherfuckers made the World Series.
Yes,
Like,
that was the very, very funny part. You're in the big leagues, fundamentally you're sound at the base of it.
yeah,
There's
yeah, yes.
I mean, the one guy I would say, I don't even know if this is true, but like if they were watching the Blue Jays after this year, they'd probably say Addison Barger isn't fundamentally sound. Like that's a guy they're thinking about. And
Fair.
I mean, they're talking about like Rizzo, Volpe, who I mean makes a tough play in the hole and then short arms it to Jazz. Jazz, who's never played third base in his life. Like the team put some guys in bad spots and some people just didn't make plays. It's the game of baseball, man. You cannot just because your team sucks. Like it's worse than the Dodgers. The only game they won was a game the Dodgers gave up on.
They punted it.
Yes. So it was very funny. It was just clear. I didn't think the Yankees were carried by two awesome offensive players for most of the season. And then when everything's heightened, you're facing better relievers. There's a reason they're there. Things get exposed that way. It's like
Judge was, I mean, I actually got to the point where I felt bad.
that's when you know the Yankees are pathetic, when you start feeling bad for them. And that's where it got after 3-0. The Yankees were trying to use the Boston Red Sox coming back from 3-0 as against them as motivation.
Yeah, Aaron Boone was on that team.
How delusional and crazy is that? What happened to shame for the Bronx Bombers?
You
What?
want to talk about shame, Avery? This is a tweet from a guy from John Boy. Max Manis. Diehard Yankees fans commit a hell of a lot to their team. 162 freaking games. Committing your 7 to 10 p.m. every single night. Crazy playoff ticket prices. Consistent hate from other fan bases. I don't know, man. Just a lot. Would like to win one year. This is the same fan base that parades 27 championships in everyone's fucking face. Cry me a goddamn river. Every fan on the planet for 29 teams deals with this exact same thing you're dealing with, pal.
Every team plays 162 games.
And by the way, since I was born 97, this team has 4 World Series championships. 4. And have been to 5 or 6 7 World Series since that day. Cry me a goddamn river, honestly.
I think the Blue Jays are one of the 4 baseball teams I counted that haven't made the Final Four. Like 2016 was the most recent Final Four they have been in. I think there's 4 teams that have been worse than that. So it's like we're not in a good spot. We've legitimately never seen our team win a World Series, be the best team in baseball. We've never seen it. We've never been alive for it.
Buddy, we've never even seen them be a top 2 team in baseball.
We have never seen them be a top 2 team in baseball.
Like, this is a true circle for Blue Jays fans, and I want to clip this. This is a true circle for Blue Jays fans. We are pathetic. I'm just going to say, I'm going to come out and say it. Like, this is the offseason, so we can kind of be down on ourselves here. We have been to 2 championship series, never been to a World Series, and outside of those 2 years, we've been to the playoffs 5 times in our lifetime. And in the last 3 playoff appearances, the Jays didn't win a singular game. We're pathetic. We're pathetic. Let's just call it what it is. It's a sad team we root for, but god damn it, do we ride for this ball club to the break of dawn? It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but
I know sometimes
it'd be cool to be rewarded, like just once, you know? That's all I'm asking.
No, 100%. Because sometimes we do this, like we talk after every series. Obviously, it's what we've done for 3 years now. And at some point, it was like the Athletics last year, the White Sox this year, where we say to ourselves when we're together, imagine covering a team like that, man, how much that would suck. And we've just kind of been we haven't done it. We've done it for 1 of the 3 years. But as a Blue Jays fan, that's kind of what we've been doing for our whole lives.
Like, and the funniest thing is every single time the Blue Jays have made the playoffs in the career of Gate 14, they have got shit pumped in the playoffs. I mean, they haven't even had a pulse, really. Besides the 8-1, they blew that. I'm never going to talk about that game again. But, like, at the end of the day, there's one winner. There's one winner and 29 losers. The moral story is Yankee fans complaining, shut up. Just shut up. Yeah. Talking about, like, fire Aaron Boone. The fire Aaron Boone stuff is bananas, by the way. Well, I mean, did he say, hey, Judge, I want you to hit below your body weight in the World Series, okay? And the playoffs. I want you to hit below your body weight. Like, it's just wild. Honestly, it really is.
Yeah, you lose your well, they didn't have like rational thought process ever, Yankees fans. They never have. Fair. So this is very on brand for them as well. But now, man, we're starting to get some player opt-outs, opt-ins. It's tea time, brother. We got transactions coming our way.
You know what I'm excited for? I'm excited. Like, we're going to rush home from work on December 13th, and we are going to do a live stream of that draft lottery. And, brother, I will be seated at that table.
December 10th.
December 10th, sorry. December 10th. I will be seated at that table. I'm not a prospect guy, but god damn it, getting that first pick overall would be I'm telling you, I'd get a listener to make a banner.
If we got the first overall pick, we would take a guy under slot. We wouldn't go highest upside. We'd take a guy under slot and try and sign some high upside guys after that. And that's just something we're gonna have to deal with after we get the first overall pick.
Yeah,
but that's
gonna be like
that's another problem to have.
That's another problem. It's definitely a problem for sure. But I guess we can go into some of the off-season stuff going on here. I mean, being Blue Jays fans, we get blue balls a lot with free agents. I'm not going to really say like the big free agents, like because we sign free agents, Gossman, all those guys, whatever. But we get blue balls a lot. The Juan Soto stuff is starting to really pollute my brain, and I'm trying not to read it. Maybe I'll mute the word Juan Soto on my timeline. But the Jeff Passan quote today, like the Jays could be in serious contention for Juan Soto. I don't know because I said a couple of months ago, don't fall for it. A couple of weeks ago, where are you at with this? Like, this is not going to happen.
No, they
Clearly,
will offer him an insane amount of money. That is that it's going to happen.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
will Juan Soto want to come here? That's the only question we have to ask, and something we will not find out till he makes his decision. So Otani seemed to be good with
We
the
were at the
thought.
table for that. I'll
Yes.
give them that.
I think we'll be at the table for Soto too. He'll stay. I think he'll be a Met, honestly. Um,
Oh my God, Avery, that'd be better than losing the World Series for the Yankees.
it would be so funny, man. So funny to lose Juan Soto to the other team in the city. It would be
I also have a take that has kind of floated around our group chat a little bit. Like this is a take that I've had for a while. I think corporations shouldn't own baseball teams. I think it should be owned by some rich guy who loves the team, who just is like a Steve Cohen, where it's like
that's the
we
problem
want
though,
Soto.
John. Not a lot of people do that. They want to turn profit. Like that's their main thing. And they know they don't try and turn a profit in the way that baseball fans think you should turn a profit. They try and turn the profit by expensive seats, cheap team, maximize it that way, not hey, let's spend a lot on the team. And then once you get the playoffs and you get, well, I guess they split the money in the playoffs.
Yeah, with the players.
Some of them do, but like that's the way we think they should spend. So I wish everyone had a contract like to the death pact that they had to try and win. That's the only way it would be okay.
Yeah.
And I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, it being a Met fan would be so sick. It's like,
but John, when they spent, they sucked. That's
yeah, but
like
okay, but I think which is fair, but at least they tried. That's what I'm
yes,
saying. You bring Cy Young Award winner Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Lindor, you sign. Like I'd be fine with that. And the thing is, they dumped that, and they still had a good product because their scouting department is really good because the prospects that came up were nasty.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
you're right. You're right about that. But then you have guys like John Fisher with the A's where that guy should never be allowed to own a baseball team.
He should be in prison.
Yeah, what he's done to them. It's been
he should be in prison.
There's another thing I want to go off topic here. It would kind of be cool if they made the Tampa Bay Rays play at Tropicana without the roof. When you just
I don't know what they're gonna do, but I actually can one up you here for our Quebecois listeners. Let's fucking run this shit back in Montreal. Let's run this shit back in the beautiful city of Montreal. Why not?
That'd be great. They were talking about doing that already. Why don't you just make it permanent for the year?
I like kind of have an excuse to. Would be funny though.
Well, no, they're talking about playing in Dunedin at the Blue Jays.
Oh my
complex.
God, that part. I saw a tweet. I mean, that parking lot fits 50 people. Like,
yes.
who would they have to shuttle people to the game or just knock down that Bowser's bar that we went to?
Bowser's is about to make the most money they've ever made.
Oh yeah, that place is gonna hit a lick. But I don't know what they do. It would be funny though if we just had the Toronto Montreal rivalry back.
Yes.
Sick.
No, I think they should look into it, but I think it's hopefully everyone's okay. And I know it's going to take a bit to build it back. When I saw Tropicana without the roof, I was like, oh, that's kind of a fucking cool kind of park.
It does look crazy. It really does look crazy. And yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well over there. It's just play in Montreal.
Yeah, the Jays facility survived somehow.
Yeah, thank God. But that's a beautiful facility, by the way. Obviously, we went there, but it would be wild if they just ran it back there. But yeah, in the free agent stuff, man. I mean, who are your top 3 targets? I mean, let's talk realistic. Let's leave the Soto out of it. Who are 3 guys that you can see a perfect fit for this team that has a trillion holes in the Toronto Blue Jays?
Okay, so there's 2 backup catchers, a reliever I like, and then I think they'll just be in on Bregman. No matter how much I think it might age bad, I think they'll be in on Bregman. Like no one's been able. So I'll go Bregman as one of them. Like if I can talk about how I think he can go on the George Springer arc as well, how the contract might look bad at the end. But if he
Yeah,
signs with the Blue Jays, a hand up, I will spin zone it to make it a good thing for right now.
for
That
sure.
where I'm a fan of the team, I won't overthink it. But there's like some backup catchers that I like that I don't know if they um like I don't know if they want Phil Clark to be their guy to be the
Does
next
that
one up
move
to
the
come.
needle for you, man?
No. But I was just like, I don't know any the needle movers. I don't want to put myself in on the needle movers.
Yeah,
Jock Peterson's one that I like a lot, but they didn't have problem hitting right-handed pitching. And again, if you look where Jock Peterson has played baseball and chosen to play baseball, I think there's no chance he would ever come to Canada to play. Like, he's just on the West Coast all the time. And
yeah,
then
he
he went
loves
to
the West Coast. I
yeah,
don't
and then he
blame
went
him.
to Atlanta. So that another one too. Catcher options. Max Stassi got his option declined today by the White Sox. He'll be cheap as shit. And then Carson Kelly really good against left-handers. So like I think that's what the platoon would kind of be. And then Mike Soroka, I tweeted about this the other day.
A
As a
lot of teams want Mike Soroka. I haven't seen a lot of Mike Soroka talk on the timeline.
he had a very impressive end to last year. I did the numbers. I tweeted this out a couple days ago. He had two pitches that returned a batting average against below 200. It was a slider and his four seamer. Slider had a whiff rate of 41.7% over the year. That's good, man. That's a really good pitch. And then finally, when he was in the pen for the last, I don't know how long he was in the pen for. I know he started a little bit, but he got his average fastball to 94.5 miles an hour in September, which is the fastest he's thrown his fastball over a month in his career. So, like, maybe there's some strides there. He's the youngest player, I think, on the free agent market at 27. I guess Soto would be there too, right? Too young, like a really young guy that obviously Canadian. YJ said this to me. Imagine if the leverage guys in the bullpen were Soroka, Pop, and Romano at the end. That would just be very funny. So I want to do a full free agent episode that we can do in a little bit where we really break down some of the options here soon. But those are kind of the ones I'm looking at that I think are obviously realistic. Like you could spend at the top of the market, but we saw what the bats did last year. Maybe it was just a bad year. A lot of them fucking stunk. They stunk. We signed Justin Turner, who was one of the better guys, and then we traded him off because the team stunk. So it'll be very interesting. Soto's the needle mover. Obviously, they'll try and get there. Would love to see it happen. I think he'll entertain it. And yeah, I mean, the writers in New York know what the Toronto Blue Jays clicks do well because they are talking about the Jays immediately. And it's the same teams that have been used for leverage. It's the Blue Jays and the Giants are in the mix for every
And the
fucking guy.
Dodgers.
No, but their Dodgers aren't used for leverage because they get the players. It's
Yes.
the Blue Jays and the Giants who are at just the same versions of them when it comes to the free agent market in the past couple of years, I believe.
Yeah. Listen,
Who's your guys, John?
man, I'm Tyler O'Neill pilled.
Yes.
I really am.
You would crush. Like I tweeted out before they were bad against left-handed pitching. Tyler O'Neill had like a 200 weighted runs created plus against left-handed pitching. You do face more righties, so you want them to be better against righties than lefties, but they need the help. Like they need someone to do that.
Yeah, and we got to have the talk here about George Springer. I mean,
Oh fuck.
last year it was hard to watch outside of a month stretch here, Avery. I mean, I don't know what you do here with George Springer. I mean, he is declining in every single aspect of the game, and he has 2 years left on the contract. Two, Avery. And we were talking about this guy. We always talk about this in the podcast. This is a guy that was supposed to be get forgiveness his last 2 years, where it's like, all right, we had these awesome playoff runs with all that. That didn't happen. Now we're kind of just stuck with a guy that's on the insane decline in George Springer. Last year, the man had a 6.74 OPS, 220 average, and a 303 on base percentage. He can't be leading off next year. You're gonna take him out of that leadoff spot. I don't know how you justify leading off George Springer in 2025. This guy was a pumpkin last year, and that's no disrespect. That's just what the stats tell you. That's what the decline tells you. Every single year, he is on a steady decline. Last year, bigger than others, but what do you do here with George Springer? Do you platoon him, try to minimize how many at-bats you give him? Like, what do you do with George Springer? Because he's not going to help your team win baseball games. That's in
Oh,
quote-unquote win now mode. What do you do with him?
I am in a spot where I think he has good year left in him. I think we're gonna get a Paul
John
Goldschmidt.
Tavares leap?
I think we're gonna get like a Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt wasn't really a bounce back, but he was just kind of good. I think we can get a George Springer good season. I'm gonna pray for it, man.
1%
Nothing,
chance,
not a
99% safe.
single thing would indicate that that is going to happen. Not a single thing. But I think he's got one more. Like, you got to find a way to do something. Who can you platoon him against too? It's like, if you
He
just
can't hit
look at it,
righties or lefties, just so we're
yeah,
clear.
you look at his splits from this year. I mean, he couldn't hit fucking left-hander to save his life. He hit 187 against lefties and 230 against righties. So it's
Yeah, it's
like,
not great. It's
I mean, I guess you're platooning him only against righties, and he adds to the problem that you can't hit left-handed pitching this season. I'm gonna give him the benefit. I'm gonna give him one more chance. You have to. He's gonna fucking play John all the time. And we will, in the middle of May, we will be pissed. And sometimes I've learned to just accept things. And George Springer playing baseball every single day for the Toronto Blue Jays next year is just something we're gonna have to
World
accept.
Series MVP.
Yes, he's gonna take us back, man, to the promised land.
It's
Um,
wild. It's wild seeing how these last 2 years are going to come
maybe
together
the
for George Springer, man. It's not ideal.
maybe the new hitting coach gets him right, John.
Oh, we didn't talk about that either.
Yeah,
He looks like Big Justice.
he's a big boy.
He is. I mean, if he can somehow funnel steroids into our clubhouse, I'd be in. Is he a hybrid? Is he the strength coach and hitting coach? I mean, this guy is huge.
Yeah,
And there was some takes spiraling around from a certain podcast or radio show that I wanted to discuss that blew my mind out of the water. They were saying essentially, how do you trust a hitting coach that hasn't hit a double in the gap? I got some terrible news for you fellas. The Yankees hitting coach, the Phillies hitting coach, who was the best hitting team in baseball last year, the Dodgers hitting coach, those dudes didn't play in the show or have success in the show. It does not fucking matter if a guy played in the major leagues if he could coach. If that's the case, why even ever hire someone that never did it? Why? There's no point.
it's
It's
true.
it was a crazy take when I read that. I was like, we got to be better. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous take.
It's in baseball of all sports, the most like scientifically driven of all the major sports. It's like, if you can find a way to relay your message, it shouldn't matter who it's coming from. Like,
like
100%.
players. And Whit Merrifield, the interview that's about to come up here, he essentially talked about it. Guys are on their own when it comes to hitting a lot of the time. Like, some hitting coaches are like, they'll talk when spoken to, or if they really see something, they'll bring something up to you. But a lot of the times it's like they will only say something if they really see something or if they're asked. That's just really what it is. A lot of the times it's up to the players,
Yeah.
which is obviously makes sense. But yeah, it was just some wild takes spiraling there. But congrats to the new hitting coach. And another takes that was going bananas on the timeline was, well, oh, Matt Hagg's got to be pissed. Matt Hagg's still on the team.
He has
They
the
didn't
same
fire.
job.
They didn't fire Matt Hagg. He's working the exact same job that he's had the entire year. He's still here.
He's almost in a better position because you're not going to fire the assistant hitting coach if the team doesn't hit. We just saw it with Guillermo.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to fire the main guy pretty much. And that's what's going to happen. Matt Hagg's a young guy too. Not that why do we forget his name? What the fuck is the
I don't
hitting
know his
coach's
name.
name too?
That's probably on us.
Yeah.
That's the Gate 14 difference. I couldn't tell you the dude's name.
No,
I'll be
because
honest with you.
you had a funny saying about him too. I forget his Blue Jays hitting coach. It just says Guillermo Martinez right now.
Nice.
David Popkins. That's who it is. Pussy's out for Popkins.
Pussy's out for Popkins.
Yeah.
Listen, is he going to come here and turn George Springer into a 30 home run guy again? Probably not. Is he going to come here and just become the greatest hitting coach that's ever lived? Probably not. But the Twins 2 years ago, before all the injuries, they were a really good hitting team, and he was a part of that. Carlos Correa has come out. I made up a quote, albeit of Carlos Correa, but he has come out and talked about how much he actually likes this guy. Pussy's out for Popkins, but it's just like, let's just give the guy a chance before we crown him as the biggest bum on the planet, like some guys were doing. Like, let's just see what happens. And Matt Haig is still here. He's still working with the young guys. Loperfido talked about still texting him and talking to him. Like, he's still here. Okay, so like, who cares? But it's it's going to be a weird year. I mean, you look at the opening odds here for the World Series. The Jays have worse odds than the Nationals and the Pirates. They're up there with those guys for who's going to win the World Series next year. I'm going to come on a limb and say the Jays aren't going to win the World Series next year. Old takes expose me probably. It's hot take alert, but that's just really what it is. They're just, let's just fuck around and make the playoffs. Why not?
You can find a way, man, with how many teams make the playoffs now. Hopefully the White Sox are better so we don't get every AL Central team in the playoffs again. And that can sort itself out. But I'm excited, man. Transaction time Tuesday, you said?
Tuesday.
It's going to be glorious, man. Do you think Juan Soto makes it to Christmas unsigned?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think that's going to work pretty quick.
I think Boris, seeing how much it fucked up players with the late signings, albeit there were pitchers, but is going to be a big difference in how early guys sign, right?
Yeah, but and then you got Snell back in the mix, Burns. It's a
By the way, Corbin Burns borderline tampering on the timeline 1 minute after the World Series. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, the eyes emojis to the
what
Dodgers.
The hell
after.
was that about?
The
that
Dodgers,
was bananas.
They do not need to pay Corbin Burns. I almost think it would be dumb for them to pay Corbin Burns.
Their pitching rotation is getting Ohtani back, Glasnow, all those guys back, and they just won the World Series without him. Like the Dodgers are next year are going to be legit unstoppable.
Like you just take that money and you give it to Teo instead.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We got to talk about Teo. Oh, he rocks. He rocks.
He was great. The last memory we have of Teo is him being a rock star in the postseason.
Has there been a more universally loved Blue Jay than Teoscar Hernandez? But after he left, though, because old takes exposed tons of people. A lot of Blue Jays fans wanted Teoscar in prison when he was here. Like, they wanted the dude in prison. Teoscar Hernandez, I could not have been rooting harder for a guy to win a World Series. He deserves it. He rocks. And he's so goddamn good. And the tough thing is, Ross Atkins, unfortunately, burned that bridge this offseason, last trade deadline. He will never come back here, right? We can close that door probably.
Yeah, he's not signing. He's got a big ticket to sign this offseason.
And the Dodgers are going to do it. He said that's his top priority.
Yeah, if the Blue Jays weren't willing when he was going to be cheap, signing him now is not a good idea.
They could have bought Solo this offseason.
I know, and it's like 3-year deal for him to come back. They could have done, and then maybe that would have figured some things out, but they went double down on defense, and it was a lot different than 2023. So we're on to 25 at least. Do I have a ton of hope as of right now? No, I don't have a ton of hope, but I'm excited for some individual performances to be heightened, like a Loperfido guy, Davis Schneider getting back. Those are the jumps we need if this team's going to be anything next season, and a bullpen that's worth a shit. That'll be the other thing.
There's some fun names for the bullpen. I mean, Alto and Curtis made their list of guys they want. Alto wants, let's look at the names here that Alto wants. Adames, Minaya, Clay Holmes, Carson Kelly, Jose Leclerc. Jose Leclerc and Clay Holmes added to this bullpen. I'd be back in on the bullpen. I'll say it. I want Clay Holmes.
YJ sent me an awesome thought. He thinks Clay Holmes is the next reliever turned starter.
Wow. But why though? He's been so good out of the pen the last 2 years. Like, he's been Emmanuel Clase numbers.
Big body. The pitch mix works. I mean, someone you can trust for a lot of innings, I think.
That's fair.
That's a guy that you could try and pay like a reliever and then turn into a starter. I mean, that doesn't happen often. We saw 2 people do that for deals. Jordan Hicks, Ronaldo Lopez, guys who had kind of done that as well. But that's something else you can look at when looking who the 5th starter is going to kind of be too. So intriguing, man. Tuesday, we are going to have some fun, and I hope we have a deal to talk about next week.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we didn't really have a deal to talk about for the Jays until December of last year, but it would be kind of cool to have like a deal just right out of the mix. Ross Atkins showing he's in a no
I
fuck
would like
around.
a deal so fast that we're worried about tampering, like getting struck down.
Yeah, Jays are on that Man City shit, just tampering. Or the LA Clippers shit. I would love a deal right off the mix. I love transactions. One thing about me is I love a good transaction no matter what.
Yeah, and doing a one-off podcast after we've signed
Yeah, like even
someone.
the live stream I did last year when the IKF signed is like 7,000 views. Like people
IK,
love
IKF signing, man. Oh my
people
God.
love the transactions, but I'm really hoping here. I'm really hoping here we get something to talk about with the next couple of weeks of like a deal a player that we could talk about turning into our next big thing, our next big dog that we got here. But yeah, it's gonna be there's obviously some trades to explore potentially as well with teams that are broke boys in the league like the Twins. But when that time comes, we'll talk about it. That's just where I'm at with it. But it is going to be exciting. I actually have one way to fix the Jays. I have one way to fix the Jays. You got to go back to the old Rogers Center. That's the only way. The way we've known the Jays having success 2015, 2016, we had those light blue, disgusting walls that were horrible. We had like just seats that didn't face home plate. Normal foul territory. The bullpen sucked. We got to go back to our roots. Take out Corona rooftop patio. Maybe that's pushing it a little bit, but I think you got to go back. Sometimes you got to go back before you can go forward, and I think you just reverse all the renovations. That's
like
how
that.
you. That's how you fix this team. The team got too cute. Take away the team gear. That's how you get them
Oh yeah,
back.
don't let them wear the logo in spring training till they earn it.
Like they do in college. You just plain blue hoodies. They're wearing plain blue jerseys in the games with the numbers on the back. That's how you fix this ball club. Because let me tell you something right now. This product that we've had the last 2 seasons. I know we made the playoffs, sure, whatever. Burn it. Burn it.
Over. Let's
I'm
be
blaming
fun
the
again.
dimensions. I'm blaming the Rogers Center dimensions. Call me crazy. I'm blaming the dimensions
No,
for
the
it.
dimensions are fine. It's the look. It's the aesthetic.
Yeah,
We need to be gritty again.
Make the Blue Jays gritty again. That's how we fix this ball club. Because my God, cool to look at, not cool to watch when the product on the field with our beautiful Toronto Blue Jays ball club. But I am looking forward to talking ourselves into a low-level signing that is essentially going to be just a nothing burger.
Yeah, they're gonna hit 235 and probably not be on the team by
A guy that's never had a weighted runs created plus above
103.
105. Yeah, 103. Above 103 his entire career. That's how you that's how you get this ball. That's how you get me going. That's how you get our fandom back. That's how
No,
the
exactly. But
transaction talk.
we got Whit today after
Yeah.
this with
Awesome
Merrifield.
interview. Awesome interview. I obviously we talked about it on the podcast. We went out for with the entire team in spring training, and he showed up with Schwarber and we guys that we know. So we kind of had that little connection here. He knew who we were with Gate 14. He mentioned on the podcast. I'm excited that people listen to this podcast. Whit Merrifield is the man. We've kind of invited ourselves to his golf tournament. I think he didn't want us to play in it, which is fair. I wouldn't want me to.
Yeah, we can't. It's a pro players golf tournament.
Yeah, which is fair. I'm fine with that. I'll take that bullet 10 times out of 10. But Whit Merrifield, awesome man, awesome locker room dude. You talk about that, like camaraderie around the team. That team in 2023 was so close. Everyone, tons of good characters in that locker room. Great guys. And Whit Merrifield was obviously a part of that in 2022 as well, when we had that fun team with Romano smoking darts in the clubhouse after they clinched the playoff spots. So this Whit interview rocked. Same with Loper Fido. He was very outgoing.
You're surprised about Joey, honestly.
Me too.
Smart kid. I mean, makes sense. He went to Duke.
Yeah.
But,
I would consider him smart. He went to Duke.
Yeah, oh yeah. You definitely should be considered smart if you went to Duke.
Yeah.
But no, he was really, really open. Genuinely surprised that he was as good of a talker as he was, and that's always nice. So thank you to everyone who listened to that as well.
Yeah, and I tweeted this as well. Thank you to everyone that stuck with us during the Jays being shit. Like, I know it's tough hopefully we kind of provide something fun for you guys where it's like we take your mind off of whatever the fuck's going on with the Toronto Blue Jays and just kind of provide that outlet where it's fun. But yeah, this is we love you guys, the riders that have been doing this, and the Gate 14 Awards. Next Saturday we'll be recording them.
Yes, we have a new location that will not be dropped.
New location that we will not be hinting at until the episode drops or
Yes.
the video drops. I think the people will like this location.
Yes,
I think the people.
I think it's going to be very
find
funny.
some comedy in this location where we are filming this video, so I'm excited for it. But should we cut to the Whit Merrifield interview?
Let's go to Whit.
Yeah, without further ado, former Blue Jay,
All-Star,
a new friend of ours, All-Star, league leader in hits twice, Whit Merrifield. We are now joined by a very special guest that is a long time coming, folks. 3-time All-Star, twice led the league in hits. It's our good friend, Whit Merrifield. Whit, long time coming, brother. Welcome to Gate 14. How are we, man?
I'm good, guys. Gate 14.
been a
About time
while.
you guys called me. So it just took me a year and a half to be away from Toronto for you guys to give me a shout. How about that?
Listen, we'll start. We'll go into how this interaction started. So we in spring training, we talked about this in the spring training pod. We went out for dinner with the Jays guys, and we ended up seeing Schwarber, who me and Avery used to play Call of Duty with in the offseason, and and Brandon Marsh, who I know, and you're there with them, and I'm like, holy shit, fucking Whit's there. So then I remember you coming up to me. I don't know if you remember this. You're like, you guys fucking hated me, and then you guys loved me, and I was like, that probably sounds like us. But what was your Gate 14 experience when you were here? Because if I look back at my old tweets, I was pumping your tires for a long time.
No, I mean I want like Gate 14, like I want to know how you guys started. I remember like I guess hearing about it like probably from not until Bassett came along or until Bassett started saying something about it. And then yeah, just kind of, every once in a while see a little something from Gate 14, either overreacting or hyping us up or go a full uni to a game, something like that. So it would pop up on my For You every once in a while. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of how I first heard about it. But how did this whole thing start?
Yeah, so essentially, like, I used to do another podcast, which is like how I met all the like Schwarber and Bryson and all those guys. And I noticed like there wasn't really a Blue Jays pod that was like just a couple of idiots, like fans, like most of the Jays pods are like suit and tie. You can't really relate to them because they take it themselves way too seriously. So I reached out to Avery. We started Gate 14. And then after 1 year, it essentially kind of just blew up. And then we kind of got with the connections I have. And then we kind of got players on, and then people would follow us first, like Bassett did and Gossman did. And then, yeah, kind of just, to be honest, right place at the right time. So it truly is wild kind of seeing where we're at. But that was the funniest interaction when you were like, you guys fucking hated me. You guys loved me when I read
it wasn't just you. I thought Canadians were supposed to be nice and polite. And I got there my first month. I was like, damn.
Well, it was a battle for you, but it was an absolute battle for you. But
it was.
It was just a grind. I mean, so let's talk about the trade, and then we'll go into some Avery stuff. But when you originally got traded to the Toronto Blue Jays, what was your reaction? Because you were on a kind of a struggling Royals team where you're a legend, you're getting standing O's when you go back there. What was your first reaction when you got that call that you were traded to Toronto?
It was Toronto, like in Canada, really? Because I don't know if you guys remember the time frame we were in.
COVID, the COVID stuff. Yeah.
I gotta say that was about, based on what was going on, that was about the last place I was expecting. But I knew I was getting traded. I'd had some good conversations with the club about my future with the team and trying to extend my stay in Kansas City and work on something contractually. Didn't work out, as those things do sometimes. And so, it was made pretty clear to me that we were probably going to part ways. So I was expecting to get traded. And yeah, I mean, we had the Toronto trip from Kansas City about 2 weeks prior. And yeah, there was a number of us that weren't able to make the trip. And then, yeah, 2 weeks later, when the call came and it was like, oh, Toronto, and I always loved playing in Toronto. I was like excited, confused, a lot happening over that day period before I made the got on the flight. But I was thrilled, man. Like I had nothing but positive memories about Toronto. Would have loved to. I thought we had some really good teams. Would have loved to have been able to do more with those teams as far as getting further in the postseason. But I mean, outside of some of the difficulties that come with being a Blue Jay, like I say that, like being in a different country, some of the minor difficulties and annoyances that come with that. I had a great time in Toronto, really did.
One of the things for you that was different is like when we say we get Whit Merrifield, it's like, okay, this guy's gonna play 162 all the time, and you know what you're gonna get at the end of the year. By your second year, you're kind of not playing every day. What was that? Was that the worst part for you? You think it's just something that you haven't done, totally different from the rest of your career?
Yeah, I mean, so it was when I first got traded over there. George had the elbow thing going on, and so I was playing some center field early, and then George got back, and I wasn't playing hardly at all. Like I was getting maybe like 2 at bats a series, um, which was tough. And so I remember going into Schneid's office and be like, "Hey, man, like y'all traded for me. Like what's going on?" And I was like, it's cool. Whatever. We're winning and we're in a playoff hunt, and I get you trying to put the best lineup out there, but like y'all went and actively gave up stuff for me. Like don't like. I'm just confused about my role here. And he basically said, like, look, like this year we kind of planned on you coming in and being some depth and doing some stuff, and then we were going to make some moves and planning to make some moves in the offseason and have you in there every day in 23. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And I wasn't playing very good the 2 at bats in series I was getting anyway. I felt like I popped up to the infield. If a pop up to the infield was an average, I would have been hitting like 750. It was wild. Like I could not make a swing. If I hit it, it was going straight up in the air. It was the most bizarre thing. Anyway, so yeah, that was tough. But then Santi blew his oblique in Philly actually, and I went in and got a steady run at it and got really hot, and that kind of carried throughout the year. Thought I had sort of earned a spot at second after that, and I mean I really did some things in September that year in 22 that kind of got us into the playoffs in a home game. So I was like, I feel like I'd earned a spot to be an everyday second baseman, and kind of had to do it again in 23. Kind of had to earn my role again, and got off to a good start and sort of solidified that, and then unfortunately finished like Helen Keller. It was awful, and wasn't able to play in the playoffs. So that was a bummer.
Yeah, that's I want to talk about that 22 season because I obviously have very fond memories of that. The Jays had a home playoff game. We'll go into the playoffs after that, but that team was so fun, man. I mean, the start of the year, there are 500 at the All-Star break. They fire Bongo Boy Charlie Montoyo, and they bring in John Schneider. John Schneider goes like 46 and 28. The team is raking. They're buzzing, and it's just the vibes are unbelievable. So what was that locker room, the clubhouse like for that second half of the season? Because you guys just refused to lose baseball games. It was so fun to watch.
It was a great. It was. I was on a buyer my rookie year and in 17 in Kansas City. We bought at the deadline. It came up short going into the playoffs, but that was a winning team, and it was a different feel than it was 18, 19, 20, 21 when it was, and obviously we were rebuilding. So getting there and getting like that new sense of, or that fresh sense of like, all right, like guys are showing up to like, we need to win. This is where we are. This is what we're playing. This is how far back we are. This is how far up we are. It was a whole different like energy in the clubhouse, and I loved it. I actually got there and we were going through a little bit of a rough stretch. I remember we had like a team meeting like a week and a half or 2 weeks in to make me be in there. And so that was, I think we got to go a little bit after that. Not that the meeting had anything to do with it. I think team meetings are a little overhyped sometimes.
How many closed door meetings are too many in a season?
I love them. I'm all in on them.
It just depends on who calls it. It depends on how it's run. It can be, and it depends on if it gets out or not. Like if you're gonna call a team meeting, you can't call it at 4:30 when the media is supposed to be in there, and everyone's like, "Oh wait, you can't go in the locker room right now. The doors are closed." It's like, okay, well, everybody knows, and you got to do it at like 1 o'clock or like after the game when the media leaves and whatnot. So it's just how it's done. That's a huge thing with the way the team embraces it. So you could have four of them that are great. You could have one of them that's terrible. And if you have a bad one, that's, a guy calls it because he wants to be Mr. Rah-Rah and get it out to the media that he called the team meeting and he spoke to the team and everything. That turns people off. So to answer your question, there's no right number. It's just how you do it.
And
yeah,
looking,
we had that meeting.
Going into those stats, I mean, Jays fans are going to forget this because we've had so much misery since this time period, but you hit 306 in September and then 421 in October in 2022. Like you mentioned, like a massive part in the reasoning for why that team made the playoffs. But there was some hitters on that team that really stood out to me that were just unreal. And one of those guys isn't here. He's playing in the World Series now. What was it like playing with Teoscar Hernandez? Because obviously you guys pretty close in the lineup. What was it like watching how he goes about it day by day and just kind of watching his at-bats?
Yeah, man, I love Teo. Teo's just he's an awesome dude. Just a great human with an infectious smile, and really really enjoyed being his teammate. But he's got more like sheer raw power than you realize. I mean, he can. I think in the playoff game, I guess it was game 2. It's hit 2 homers, 2 like towering, majestic homers. Just got a flair for it, and I'm thrilled for him. Thrilled that I was surprised that his market was so slow this winter. Really good player. I think battled through some things in the outfield from an injury standpoint that I think might have come off to some people as lazy, but it was him just battling through some injury type stuff. So he couldn't really like go and get after the ball in the gap like he normally would be able to. So I think there's kind of a bad rap around that, which is unfortunate because he is a pretty good outfielder and he's got a good arm and he's a good teammate. But I'm thrilled that he's having success with LA, and I got a feeling his market is not going to be as slow this winter as it was last winter.
No, he's made himself some
He's
good money after that. So we talked about the team meetings a little bit. Who was the main voice in the Jays clubhouse when that was going around? Something we wouldn't know as outsiders.
I mean, I don't that Chappie. Chappie was a good voice in there. The year 2 when Belt was there, I mean, Belt was something. But like when he got serious, like you listen because he is who he is, and he's been around and he's seen the world and he's been a part of World Series. He's got 3 rings or 2 rings. I forget if he was on the first one or not. But yeah, so like when he got serious, you're like, all right, well, really need to listen because if Belt's being serious, it's time to be serious. And so Belt was a big one. Bassett, from the pitcher standpoint. So yeah, we had great leadership over there. They still have good leadership over there with Bassett, and it was a good clubhouse. Really was. Like there was nothing bad about being in Toronto.
Yeah, the vibes looked awesome. We know we've gone close to a pretty decent amount of the players. They're all just class act good guys. Let's talk about the playoff game. Let's talk about the playoff game in 2022 at home. I was at that game. People were taking pictures of me in my seat when the 8-1 lead was blown. How loud was that building being on the field when Teoscar launches that second home run? Because I was never alive for the World Series in Toronto. I was in the school in the States for baseball, humble brag, scholarship, whatever, during 2015, 2016. So I never got to experience a playoff game at the Rogers Center. That was probably one of my greatest memories of being a Blue Jays fan. What was it like partaking in that?
Crazy. It was my first playoff game, and I happened to be in the Rogers Center. I mean, honestly, like, you hear people talk. I mean, I couldn't feel my legs. And I remember being just so exhausted after the first game for no reason. Like, because we lost, I think 4-0 after I think Castillo shoved on us, and it was 4-0 or whatever the final was. But like nothing really happened for me to be exhausted. But I remember like because of the energy, and I felt like I had to be I was so focused, like every pitch to like it was the two strikes, 2 outs in the ninth, and that was for 9 innings. And so I remember laying in bed that night going like, "Whoa!" Like that was crazy, in a good way. But I was like, man, that was you hear noise. You don't hear your feet like on the ground. Like usually you can hear it when you're running on dirt or grass. You can hear it. You can hear just like I can't hear my chain bouncing, but you can hear like stuff bouncing when you're running. You don't hear anything except for the noise, and you just feel it too. Like you feel the bass inside. Like it's wild. It was wild in Toronto. And then in Minnesota, that next year, I mean, I compare Rogers Center to Minnesota and San Diego. Those are the three places I've been in the playoffs. And San Diego was rowdy, but we had that roof closed in Toronto, and it was. I mean, I hope somebody got the decibel level because it was crazy.
One of the big things with how the Jays struggled this year, hitting coach influence, and obviously we don't need to talk about Guillermo, but the big leaguer, how much does they help, or like do they actually hurt you at any point? Major league hitting coaches,
because Guillermo, we've talked to Guillermo. We went for dinner with him. He mentions how close you guys were, you with Guillermo, or he's worked with you a pretty decent amount. So like that's kind of why like we're kind of wondering with that question.
Look, man, like I talked about this a little bit actually a couple days ago on Foul Territory, but in the big leagues, a hitting coach is a therapist, and that's their job. They're a therapist. They're there to get your mind confident, to get you in the right frame of mind, to get you a scouting report on the pitcher. But most of us do that on our own anyway. So they're really there to be a therapist, to make sure that you're feeling okay, that your mind's in the right place, that you're confident. And then if they see like a little thing here or there mechanically, it's hard, man, because I've seen players snap on hitting coaches that try to come to them with stuff. Because we got a lot, like there's so much as a hitter. You have so much going through your head that you're trying to, especially when you're struggling, you're trying to work through things. You're feeling a certain thing, even though you might not represent what's being seen. Like you're feeling different things, and so you're working through that. And if you're working towards something, and then you hear something that kind of contradicts what you feel like you've been working towards to get out of your funk, it can set people off. And so hitting coaches know that, and they have like a fine line of, all right, like when do I talk to a guy? How do I talk to a guy? And it's the most volatile job in our sport, because hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports. And when you struggle collectively, somebody's got to be to blame. It's not going to be the players you're paying. So it's got to be the hitting coach, when really they don't have much to do with the struggle and or the success of teams. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, you look at when I was in Atlanta, we had Kevin Seitzer, who's well regarded as one of the best hitting coaches in baseball. Last year, well, I guess now 2 years ago, Atlanta had historically like the best offensive year ever. This year, it was more of a struggle for us. Seitz gets fired. And it's like, you think was it Seitz's fault? Was it just the player's fault not having the same year? So I just think blaming a hitting coach for offensive struggles at the major league level is just someone being a scapegoat.
Yeah, I mean, Guillermo got the brunt end of it. Like, I mean,
yeah,
the way that a lot of the Toronto fans and people that we get in our DMs and tweeting at us blame Guillermo as the leading cause, and a lot of times, my thought process is, and my reaction to that is these guys are professional hitters, man. Like, do you think Guillermo Martinez is going to walk up to Vladdy and say, "Listen, man, stop fucking pulling the baseball"? No, a lot of the times it's the players that just kind of have their own guys back home, or for obviously Vladdy has his dad, but like a lot of these guys, they have philosophies that they work at in the off season that they kind of just bring with them into the season. So I do feel bad. I mean, Guillermo Martinez got it terribly. He would tell stories to me and Avery about some of the stuff people would say to him, and it's like, at the end of the day, man, it's on the pro hitter more than it is on the hitting coach. But a lot of times it is the scapegoat. What was the biggest difference that you kind of noticed from your time in Toronto with hitting philosophy compared to like Atlanta and Philly? Because those are two teams. I know the Phillies, they launch baseballs, tons of home runs. The Jays have been kind of down on that the past couple of years.
Again, man, it's like there's no like we don't come into spring training and they're like, all right, this is how we're gonna hit. This is our philosophy. We're gonna try to hit everything in the air. It's at the big league level, you have to be your own hitting coach. You have to be, or you're not going to be successful because nobody knows how you're picking the ball up. Nobody knows how you feel in your load. Nobody knows if you feel on time or if you feel late or if your bat's dragging. You may look a certain way, but nobody knows how you're feeling. So you have to be able to understand that, as you have to know yourself as a hitter, understand your feels, and be able to work out of it. And you can communicate that with the coaches and be like, hey man, like when I'm doing this, when I'm rolling over a lot of balls, hitting a lot of balls are short, this is usually what happens. When I'm flaring balls to right, this is what my feels go. But there's 1,000 things that can go wrong in a swing, and if you can't identify it, it can bury you. And also hitting is contagious. So like when a couple guys start going bad, like it's hard to just it's contagious. It really is. So you get a couple guys getting hits, it's easy to get up there and get a hit. If you're 0 for 9 as a team and you're the 10th guy up, it's more difficult to do something productive. It just is. So there's no, like, it's not football. I mean, the offensive coordinator wasn't putting on plays and wasn't telling us what to do, and it's just one of those years, I think, offensively for Toronto. I mean, Bo got off to kind of a tough start, battled some injury, and just couldn't really get it going. Vladdy went back to being Vladdy, which was awesome to see. But then you got a lot of young guys, they're trying to prove themselves, trying to make their mark, and that can be tough, and especially in a big market like Toronto. So I think there's some good talent there. I really do, and would love to see Toronto good again. I mean, because when Toronto's good, it's better for baseball.
Where do you stand on some of the advanced analytics stuff that you get? Do you value some of it? What do you like to look at when you're looking at some of your data from the year?
I don't really look at like my, I guess, swing data or like exit stuff. It's just because that's not really representative of me. There's some things, I guess, with my swing. Like my whole thing as a hitter is I feel like I have trained my swing over time to have a big margin for error. So what I mean by that is my bat's in the zone for a long time. So if I'm late, if I'm early, I'm still on my bat's on a good plane to where I can hit a ball off the end or get jammed, and still get a hit. So that and I'm not scared to slow my swing down if I'm fooled to try to flip a ball into left field or bloop one to right. And so that doesn't really necessarily get represented by like exit velocity averages and stuff. So I don't necessarily look at that too much, but I do look at like percentages of pitches and counts. Like I'll look at what a guy throws 0-0 mainly, what a guy throws 3-2, and what his percentages look like in stress. So runners in scoring position, runners on third, less than 2 outs. Like what does he lean on? So those are kind of the main things I look at. I think you can get lost in numbers, and kind of takes away from your ability to go up there and be an athlete and be a hitter. But I think analytics is more geared. If you can, I think as a pitcher, you can lean on analytics a little bit more because you control everything. You're 60 feet, 6 inches away. You have the ball. You determine when you throw the ball. As a hitter, like you don't know what's coming. It could be a fastball, could be a slider, in, out. You can't judge that. So it's hard to rely on numbers with a lot of that stuff. So that's kind of my stance on it.
Let's talk about the golf games. You're recording this in a simulator, and every single player I've ever talked to talks about how much of a stick you are. Bryson, Schwarber, Ernie, all those guys. We were supposed to golf at some point. I don't know if you know the story. You and I were supposed to golf at some point. A Gate 14 listener works at TPC Toronto and got us a free round. It was me, you, Luplo, and Ernie and then you backed out. I don't know if you had family stuff, but are you as good as they say at golf? You could be a little bit humble here, or you
I
don't
backed
have
out
to
of golf. Wow,
backed out of it. Yeah, I remember.
Must
I
have
was
been
like,
really important.
yeah, it was because Luplo he called me. He's like, "Can Whit come?" And I go, "Yeah, of course Whit come." And then yeah, you just backed out of it. It was during a game day, and I remember Luplo and Ernie left like fairly late to go to the game, but it was during a game day. Are you as good as they say you are? Like, what's your handicap?
I'm like just above a scratch. I was below a scratch earlier this year, which is the best golf I'd ever been playing. But I love to play golf, especially during the season and the off season. But it keeps me sane during the season. It gets me away from baseball. Um, I, I've I really didn't get the bug till I got to the big leagues and people started asking me to go play at these great courses and um, started getting the bug there. But I'm ate up with it. My wife and I built a house and I told her I was like, hey, you get that part. Give me, I built this. I was like, I need the simulator. And then I'm like around the corner. I built my own pro shop because every time I go somewhere that I really enjoy, I get a shirt or a sweatshirt or a quarter zip or something. And so I have so many golf clothes that I built my own pro shop, which I think is pretty cool. But
What was the best place you got to play this year, or just what's your favorite city to go to play in?
well, this year, I got to play Pine Valley in Philly, which is one in the world, which was it's Philly's got some great golf, and I was surprised about Toronto golf. Like I didn't know much about Toronto golf, but Toronto's got some great golf. St. George, Toronto Golf Club, the Pulpit, the Paintbrush. Like I played some really, really
Nice
cool
private
places in
courses.
Toronto. Yeah, I tell people all the time, like when I get to a new team, like when I got to Philly, I told the guys like, hey, my best quality, like hopefully I can do some good things on the field for you, which didn't turn out that way over there. But my best quality is the golf contacts that I've created over my tenure. So there's really, I mean, to say it humbly, there's really no place that I don't feel like I can get on just from the people that I've met over my time, and was very fortunate in that regard.
Do you think baseball players, specifically position players, play golf the same way they play baseball? Because we played with Davis and Ernie, and Davis and Ernie play golf exactly the same way they play baseball.
That's a great point. No, you're exactly right. Because if you go play golf with Kyle Schwarber, it's exactly what you would expect from Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, same with Stoddard. Like Stoddard's kind of squirrely off the tee, but he gets around the green and he's kind of silky. Trey hits it sneaky far, just like he does in baseball. Like how's this fungo hit the ball 450 feet? But yeah, no, that's a good point. You're exactly right. I mean, I would say 95% of baseball players that I've played golf with, you can pretty much predict how it's going to go.
Yeah, the pitchers are definitely different, but you were Stableford winner of that golf tournament last year, or what?
Yeah, I caught some heat for that too. It was a great deal. We're doing it again in a month and some change, which will be fun. But yeah, so Tyler Clippard won the gross event, and I won the net division. A lot of good golfers showed up, and I don't know if it was because guys got tired walking 3 rounds in a row over 3 days around the day walking. But there was some really, really good golfers that didn't play very good. So I just credit to my stamina is how I came out on top.
Let us pull up this year. We'll vlog it. We'll get the people going. We'll bring a camera crew. We'll vlog that entire thing. We gotta invite Stoddy. We gotta invite Stodder. He's getting a little bit better at golf.
Yeah, I invited Stoddard, and I think he's kind of up in the air about it. I don't know. I mean, he's got the new girl, so I don't know if he's going to be able to swing it. But invited him from the Phillies guys. JT, I think he's got like a hunting trip or something, and he said if he shoots his elk or whatever he's shooting like in time, he thinks he can make it. Schwarber is just scared, so I don't know if he's going to show up.
Schwarber never comes out, man. He's
no. Schwarber's all talk. And then I think Trey's gonna come because Trey lives just like an hour and some change north, so I think he might come down for it. So those are my Philly guys coming. As far as Toronto, we got Ernie, Davis, Romy.
Is Romano a good golfer?
There's no way.
Romano hits slap shots. I can only, but he's kind of sneaky. Like he sneaky kind of gets it in the hole like quicker. And you're like you turn around, you're like, damn, I think that was a par, and it's just ugly. But it kind of works for him. Russell Martin's coming. I think JD's gonna come, or he's kind of on the fence, but I think he's leaning towards coming. So yeah, we got some Fred McGriff. So we got some old Blue Jays that are gonna be there.
That's a big event. Yeah, like I said, we'll vlog that shit. We'll make it a light. I'm not gonna play. I'm out on golf. I actually retired. I only use 4-iron off the tee because I sold my driver after a bad round. But Ernie Clement is a stick on the golf course. We took him to TPC. Avery dusted him round 1, I think people believe, or sorry, the front 9, and then Ernie just turned it on and just absolutely beat the brakes off him.
I mean, he just doesn't hit the ball like off the fairway. It's
good player.
Yeah,
good player.
A lot of fun to watch, man.
Yeah, it's good. But what else do you do? I mean, obviously, funny story. I told you this when I was drunk. I was like, I saw you one time on the streets of Toronto. You're driving a Tesla. What else do you do for fun, like besides rip around playing golf?
I grew up in the college sports world. My dad was his job was in college sports, so I love college football. I love college basketball. College football is I'm a South Carolina guy going to school there. College basketball as well, but I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is where Wake Forest University is. And my dad worked pretty direct. My whole family went to Wake. My dad's in the Hall of Fame at Wake as a baseball player. Mom played tennis at Wake. Dad's worked for Wake my whole life. So I've been a diehard Wake basketball fan since I could walk. I got pictures with Tim Duncan and Chris Paul and Randolph Childress, and was ball boy when I was young. So now I have season tickets at the Wake games, and so my household kind of revolves around sports, and particularly college sports. So that's if I'm not on the golf course, we're watching right now football, basketball soon, and then as you know, I got a little girl now. So she's 7.5 months. So my life kind of revolves around that at this point.
You love to see that. And obviously me and Avery are not fathers, and probably I won't be for a very long time. What was it like becoming a dad? Because obviously we hear tons of stories about when you see your daughter for the first time or you see your kid for the first time, everything kind of changes. Have you gone a little soft on us now, Whit? Because we know you as a little bulldog when you were with the Jays here before the kid. Are you a little soft now?
Yeah, I'm well known around the league as being one of the hardest guys in the league. And yeah, so now that I have the daughter, it's definitely softened me up. So no, it's everything, you hear all the mumbo jumbo and all the stuff, but it's couldn't be more true. Really, really couldn't be. Like, you just don't think that you can like love something like you love this little ball of fat and poop. But you do. It's awesome, man. It was a hard year for me because she was born in the middle of spring training. And my wife and I decided that we're going to make it hard on me versus make it hard on those two. And they stayed at home here in North Carolina during the year. And because we have her family, which is like right up the driveway, and then my family, which is like 5 minutes away. So it was much easier on my wife. It wasn't easy, but it was easier than if she were to be with me during the season. So season was tough. I didn't get to see my daughter very often. Got to see her, a handful of times. So that was difficult. But now that I'm home, it's been fun, like shifting into dad mode.
College sports talk. I have to ask about it. I'm a huge college baseball guy. The South Carolina walk-off, to win the national championship, when you look back on your baseball career, is that going to be number one for you, do you think?
Number one, no doubt. Yeah, number one.
So sick.
Just because, like, it's I don't know. It's hard to explain to people that aren't like in that area of the world what exactly that means to people down there, especially at our university. Because when we won that, it was the first. It was the first championship in our school in any sport. So we have such a passionate fan base down in Colombia. For us not to have ever won a national championship is hard to believe. But yeah, I mean, like even before that, everybody knew who we were. Um, you just don't like college baseball. It's actually become more popular now, which is great to see. But back then, like you didn't really like think college baseball as much of a popular thing in college, but man, in South Carolina, it sure was. And so going down there and kind of experiencing that was like, these people care. Um, then having that moment for that university, for that team, and then coming home, the craziest thing was like, so we won in the championship. We were playing UCLA. I think Rosenblatt held like 25,000 or something like that. I bet 24,000 were South Carolina fans. Like they were chanting Gamecock when I was up to bat that last at bat, and so it was obviously packed with Gamecock fans. But then so we win it, we party that night. We didn't sleep for 3 straight days, 3 straight nights. Didn't sleep. It was crazy. We were in college though, so we were good. But
Yeah.
so we party, we get on the plane the next morning, flying back. We're going to like this like welcome home thing at our basketball arena, and so I kind of I don't know I didn't know what to expect, I guess. But our coach came up to me and was like, "Hey, we want you to say something during the thing." I was like, "All right, cool." So just kind of like thought about some stuff to say, and then landed. And this was back when before I think the iPhone had maybe just come out, but I didn't have it. I had one of those like phones, but then you like flip it open and with the keypad, like the keypad on it. Those phones you could get 50 texts at a time before you had to start deleting text because your phone was full. So I turned my phone on when we landed, and within like 30 seconds, my phone was full. Had to start deleting. So people were like, "Where are you guys? We need to know." People are going crazy in the at the arena. So we show up and it's packed. Like it's packed to the thing. I was like, all these people showed up like for this baseball team that just won a championship. It was so cool, man. Like I got up and I was a junior at the time and was giving my speech. They started chanting one more year, like just like super like just things you would never imagine would happen in college baseball. We had a big parade the next day with 50,000, 60,000 people on the streets of Columbia. Like just awesome, awesome stuff that just meant the world to that town. And unfortunately, I guess fortunately, I got to experience that, but unfortunately, I haven't topped it. Would love to top it at some point, but it's gonna have to be a pretty special moment to top it.
Yeah, I mean that's just absolutely ridiculous. That's just so sick. First title ever. When you go back to South Carolina, like, are you the big dog now? Like, are the kids just kind of stopping in their tracks when they see you on the baseball field, going, "Holy shit, that's Whit Merrifield"? You gotta be.
Well, I mean, when I'm around the baseball team, like they know who I am, but like going to the football games and stuff, I used to not be. I used to like have to like kind of be in my own area and kind of like go in separately and do my own like kind of like T Swift, like same type feel. But now people don't know who I am. So I did get to last year. I got to go we do this thing in Columbia where there's like a person comes out right before the team takes the field or after the team takes the field, and you like start the chant. And it's like this whole like honor. I got to do it last year, and people gave me more of an ovation than I was expecting. So I think once I'm introduced to somebody, like, oh yeah, you're the guy that got the hit. So they kind of know who I am, but they don't recognize me anymore, which is, I guess, good and bad.
I was doing some research still on your career, and I came across the 2018 MLB All-Star trip to Japan, where, I mean, first of all, what an insane thing to happen in November in the year. You think they should do that again? Was it as cool as it looks on paper?
Well, first off, you should have gone back a year before. You should have gone back to my Japan trip in 2017.
What did I miss there?
Was that the
I
Ichiro
was on
one?
I was on a game show. That was
Okay,
wild.
I saw the video. I didn't click on it.
Yeah, that was wild. But no, I mean the Japan trip was awesome. And they were gonna do it in Korea in going into 22, I believe. And I don't know if it was COVID or I don't know what the holdup was, but there was a reason they canceled it. So they usually do it every 4 years. You know, they go to somewhere like Japan or Taiwan or Korea and kind of showcase major league players. So I was fortunate to get asked to do that.
Yeah, that's, I mean, because I remember, I forgot who was there. Someone showed me a video of Ichiro going back, and it was like bananas. But I wanted to talk about this offseason. So you signed with the Phillies. I believe you said Harp called you, right? You talked on the phone with Harp. What was it like dealing with the first experience of Philadelphia Phillies fans? Because obviously I talked about this with you via DMs, but the shit that they say to Bryson are absolutely bananas. I don't know how some of you guys deal with this. You go from Kansas City to Toronto to Philly. Was that kind of a massive adjustment for you? Just the fans, how passionate and how sometimes mean they could be to their players?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like that stuff. It doesn't really bother me. Just because I know that it's so people that send messages to players or the lowest of the losers that there is. And so, I mean, you know, whatever you want to type something to a player, send a DM, like whatever. Um, that doesn't bother me, but it's just like the people that get really upset and boo. Like I remember early Castellanos was getting booed a lot and he was struggling, but I was like, man, this guy like carried you guys last year in the postseason. Like,
Yeah.
like he was unbelievable. And it's just like how quickly like we forget. And then I remember it was maybe late April, early May when he was really struggling. They were booing him a lot. He got 2 strikes and fouled the ball off, and they started booing him. I was like, "Are you guys aware of like how baseball works?" And it turns out like it's 162 games for a reason. Like it is such a long season. There are so many peaks and valleys. It is such a volatile, hard game that it's not football. Like one game is not you're just not going to be the same player every game for 162. Like that's why we play so many games is that over the course of 700 at bats, you get a pretty good representation of what you got for that year. And so yeah, I think they're a passionate group, no doubt. And you know, they showed up every game this year. I mean, sold out every game. And so kudos to them for that. It's just like if I could say something to the Philly like fans, it's like just calm down. Just calm down.
I
Like
would like,
it's
and I don't think they realize how lucky they have it, because obviously, I mean, you don't win a World Series, you go to the dance twice, you win a pennant, and you don't win a championship. But being a Blue Jays fan, especially after this year, I would kill to have what Phillies fans have. I mean, that lineup is absurd. You got Trey Turner, who's a dog, Castellanos, who's nasty, Harp, like just it's full of absolute dogs. And
yeah.
sometimes you just don't realize how good you have it. Like I look back on 2022 and I looked back on it and I was like, man, we were not miserable, but like we were just not really that happy. And we were 23 games above 500 at one point. I
Yeah.
would murder for that to happen this season. It's just, it's insane. When you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, especially this year, like what do you think, even being just a baseball watcher, a baseball fan, like what do you think solves a problem with this team? Because they have the pieces, right? I mean, Varsho, very
Yep.
underrated baseball player. Bo Bichette down here. Vladdy obviously showed what he can be. What do you kind of see them like takes them over the top? Like what takes that team over the top?
Um I don't know. I mean, honestly, like I don't know enough about the new guys that are up there. Just from playing against them in Atlanta for like a couple games. So not exactly sure about the like who the new guys are. So it's hard for me to judge that. I know you guys. I feel like you got some good pieces in the trades with the Wagner kid and the other kid from Houston
Loperfido.
yeah, he did pretty good, right? Like he had a good stretch.
He was
So,
okay. Yeah,
Wagner
he had
was
a good
better than
stretch.
Loperfido. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, okay. Um, so anyway, like it's about guys peaking at the right time, guys putting it together putting their game together like collectively. And it's hard to do, especially when you have a group of young players. But it's not impossible to do. I mean, but it is hard to do, and you gotta kind of have to catch lightning in a bottle with it, especially being in the AL East. So, but what I would say to you, like you guys, and I guess Philly, I would love for Philly fans to have this same thing is like cheer for your team. Don't worry. Don't nitpick at all the things going wrong. Like cheer for your guys to be better. Like if they're your team, you're a fan of them. Why would you want to sit back and bash them? Cheer for them. Like cheer for them to get better. Cheer for them to get out of their funk. And I think Toronto does a pretty good job of that. But in baseball, it's easy to look at what's going bad. I feel like everybody does that. Like all of the writers, all of the people on TV. It's like guy could be hitting 280 with 30, but he's striking out 28% of the time. And so we're going to talk about that, or we're going to talk about how he didn't get a hit with a runner on third, less than 2 outs in the 8th inning 2 games ago. It's like, just sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing
just
that
blame
aggravates
management.
me, yeah, like a couple years ago, like I'd say when we started Gate 14, it was always the raw stuff. And the more you kind of do it, the more podcasts you do. What I noticed, especially with the mentions that we get and the DMs we get, is a lot of people that are fans root to be right more than they root for their team to be good. And like we got old takes exposed. I said the Jays were going to win the AL East this year. Obviously, you come in positive. You root the best for your team. Fans a lot of the time root for their team to be bad so they could be right. And a lot of our mentions were, the Jays are going to suck, last place team this year. And they were throwing fucking parades in our mentions, calling us idiots for thinking this team's going to be good. I think what I struggle with dealing with fans is going into things just so extremely negative in hopes you're right to slam dunk on people. And that's the biggest thing that I hate dealing with. I don't know about Avery, but for me, I hate just going into an MLB season saying we're going to be in last place when they haven't even played a fucking game yet. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, that's no fun. I mean, come on. Like, people just love to be miserable. I don't understand it.
It's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. But Avery, do you have anything else for him? Because I got one more.
No, well, last thing for me, what's up for the off season? What are we working on for next season?
Well, let's see. How can I break it down? I just kind of gotta get better. Gotta get back to who I was. I mean, that there was a lot this year that I could tell you about the way my year went. But a lot of it would sound like an excuse. So I'd rather not kind of get into the details. But I wasn't good, and especially I've always over the course of my career, even when I wasn't going good, I've always found a way to be productive, and I was in certain aspects this year, like defensively, stealing bases. Like I was actually really good this year. I felt like, but offensively, even when I was going bad, I couldn't figure out how to be productive. I couldn't drive in a runner from third, less than 2 outs. I couldn't move a guy over. I couldn't hit and run. Actually bunted pretty well this year I haven't bunted in a while, so it was nice to know I still have that in my pocket. But yeah, I just couldn't get it going. It was frustrating because I really did want to get it going. Especially when I was in Philly, they brought me there to help that team win a World Series, and I feel like I could have if I could have somehow got to the postseason. I feel like I could have figured out my game and done enough to help that team, but fortunately, I was playing bad enough to where they needed to go a different direction. I don't blame them for that. But then
you ran well this year. You ran really well this year, I'll say.
Yeah, and people will say, "Well, you're getting older, like father time, whatever." I was actually faster this year than I was like 4 years ago, and I'm stronger this year. I'm stronger this year than I was like when I was hitting 300. Like so that's just a lazy way to look at it. But really, I mean, I think it was a nice chance for me to kind of learn how to be a bench role, if that's the opportunity I get next year. But at the same time, when I went to Atlanta and played second every day, I kind of got back to who I was, and didn't play as good, but also had a gnarly finger for most of that. It was kind of hard to grab the bat. I got smoked in the head, and then I broke my foot. I was playing the last 4 weeks on a broken foot, so a lot going against me. But I did feel like when I got in there every day, I kind of started to get that feeling again of me as a player. So what that means this offseason, I don't know. That's really game type adjustments. So I've done a good job over the course of my career at staying healthy. So I feel like I've established a nice workout plan in the winter. I'll stick to that and try to continue to get faster even as I get older and see what next year brings.
Whenever you decide to hang them up, can we get the exclusive? Can you do maybe a letter from the desk of Gate 14 Whit Merrifield is retired?
My perfect retirement is just all of a sudden I'm not there, and everyone's like, "Where's Whit?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
He's playing golf right now.
Yeah, I'll have my agent just turn in the paperwork to MLB that I've officially retired. And I had a friend do that, and my best friend. This is a side note, but my best friend in middle school, we were 2 weeks, and we were like, "Have you seen Tyler? Where's Tyler?" Found out he had transferred to go play soccer at a private school, and he just didn't tell anybody. So that's my perfect retirement situation.
Love that. And then I guess we'll end it with this. What was your, because obviously this is the Blue Jays podcast. What was your favorite memory from your time with the Toronto Blue Jays? Because we have tons. I mean, if I look back at some of my tweets, I've said Whit Merrifield can sleep with my old lady. I've said I let Whit Merrifield take down my wife, put Whit Merrifield level of excellence. So we had some great times here. For you, what was your favorite moment as a Toronto Blue Jay?
I mean, my head goes exactly to one thing, and it's going to be, you kind of have to understand the context to it. You know the game Mafia?
Yep.
You heard of the game Mafia? So
great bus game.
Great bus game.
Yeah.
So people that don't know, long story short is everybody goes head down. There's a narrator. He picks 7 people at random with their head down. He taps them on the shoulder, and they're now Mafia. And then it's a game of bluff, basically. So the narrator says, "All right, heads up. You got to start talking to people and try to figure out who's acting sketchy and who's Mafia, because every time the head goes down, the Mafia kills off a player." So it became a thing for us that Tim Meza was always Mafia. As a collective group, he was always Mafia. And so he was always the first one to die. And he would get so mad. And so we came up the song, I forget the name of the song, but it's dun 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 dun.
Oh, that's what Romano sang in the dugout after the wild card clinch. Yeah,
so we to that beat, we would, every time we play Mafia, we'd go Tim is gonna die. That was our thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's the back of the base of this story. And after this happened, I thought we were gonna win the World Series. But so we're flying into Boston, and it's fairly early in the year, but it's nighttime, because that's the one thing about Toronto, man, is you never get somewhere early enough to go have dinner. It's always 11 or 12 because of customs and all that stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway, so we're flying in, and there's some fog going on, and so we're going to land, and we get literally I think 300 feet from the ground, and we bank up straight up. And if anybody's ever been on a big league flight, there's alcohol consumed, and we're having a good time on the flight, and we're playing cards, standing up playing cards in the back, there's people walking around the aisles. And so we bank up, and we're going straight up in the air, not knowing what the heck's going on, and we're all freaking out. And so we're asking the flight attendant what's happening, and she's like, "Well, there was visibility issues. We had to bail." And we're like, "All right, well, that was scary as hell. So let's not do that again." So we circle around, go down, do it again, bank back up. There's people. Romano hates to fly. People that hate to fly, and we got all the media, all the everybody on the plane with the players. So it's not just the players. And after the second time, we all like simultaneously started chanting, Tim, Tim, Tim. Tim is gonna die, and it got louder and louder and louder. We were banging on the overhead compartments, chanting the thing, and the TV people are turned around, freaking out, like these guys are cheering for the plane to go down. They're cheering to kill Tim Mesa because they want the plane to go down. And we landed, and we got into so when you fly with the Blue Jays, you have to go through customs. You have to go through the main airport. And we kept the chant up like 11 p.m. in Boston Logan, chanting Tim is gonna die in an airport, going through regular people that are flying to Atlanta to fly to Memphis at 11 p.m. exhausted, and this group of hooligans come in chanting some random dude's gonna die. And it was the funniest, the best like trip experience that I've ever had. It was awesome.
Everyone loves Tim Mesa, man. That's like
the best.
Swanee tells me stories just like he's the most lovable dude ever. Just seems like
awesome.
Just everyone loves Tim Mesa. So that's awesome. But Whit, man, it's been a long time coming. Like I said, I talked about on the podcast when we met you for the first time how awesome of a guy you are. I wish we could tell the stories on this podcast. We can't, but keep it PG for the people. I appreciate you coming on here. We appreciate your time with the Blue Jays. Our best memories with this podcast, you were on the team. So, I mean, you always have a special place in our heart with the Toronto Blue Jays. But thank you for doing this, man. We appreciate it. And best of luck going into next season. And we'll keep in touch, man. We'll keep in touch. We appreciate you hopping on this.
Thanks, Whit.
No doubt. Hope to see you guys in the 6 next year.